Hello, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, and welcome to this Villa AM, where we're going to take a look at the press conference from Unai Emery for Aston Villa versus Wolves in this derby of sorts. It's coming up on Sunday. So, without further ado, let me bring you in and let's watch this video. I'm going to start from the start. It's a 9-minute press conference. We're going to try and stick with it as long as we can. And I will obviously dub over this and talk and give you my thoughts on what Unai Emery says. So here goes the press conference.
Good afternoon, Unai. If we may start with team news for this weekend, any fresh concerns, any knocks in particular from last night, or is it just Tyrone who will be missing out?
Good afternoon. Tyrone is not available until more or less one month more. And another players at the moment, after we played yesterday, we worked with the players, play less, and they played good. They trained good, and another players, they were recovering. Tomorrow we'll train in the afternoon as well, and we'll see it, but hopefully not problems.
So again, as we probably knew, Tyrone Mings the only person that's out for this game against Wolves. Talking about some players, managing workloads, and some players were in. I saw Emi Bundy and a couple more were doing weight training in the weight room today. So be interesting to see if there's any more on the injury list, but I wouldn't imagine so. It wasn't exactly a dirty game against young boys. Nobody seemed to be injured from what we saw. So I would expect us to have the same squad as we did for young boys, or I suppose a fully fit squad outside of Tyrone Mings.
Wolves who stand in your way this weekend, clearly in a difficult moment, but what threats do they still pose to your side?
New coach, he did a fantastic job with Luton Town, and he knows us, and of course he is there because he deserved to get this opportunity with Wolverhampton. And my respect is massive. Firstly, because with our experiences against Wolves, Premier League, always was very difficult. Even winning last year was difficult 2 years ago. And always they are performing very well here. It's maybe a small derby. And we can feel how the difficulty is being playing against every teams, and being always with the moment they will need to compete and to try to start getting more points. But for us is keep our consistency, keep our demand, because we are trying to set our standards high and try to be there, being consistent. Of course, the last matches we are playing, more or less, the team is responding very well, and the players are very focused each competition. And Villa Park is our fortress with our supporters, and hopefully we can be very, very demanding on Sunday to keep the same last form we showed here.
So covered a lot of ground there. Some nice words for Rob Edwards. Obviously, a new appointment into the Wolves role. Talks about his time at Wolves, that he's deserving of this appointment, and he's got great respect for that. I like the way he called it a small derby, because any listeners to this podcast, and I know that people who live in Birmingham will see this as a greater derby for lots of reasons, I suppose, for familial reasons, for work reasons, for maybe if you're living that side towards the Black Country and stuff like that, you're going to see this as more of a derby. But I had a little chuckle at that when Unai Emery said that. Also, what he talks about is, that we need to keep being demanding, need to keep our standards high. He is very demanding. In the post-match after the young boys game, he did have a small bit of a rattle off some of the players to say that they need to be a bit better. And look, he's demanding. He is a demanding manager, and he's demanding better, more consistency. And also finished off there on talking about Fortress Villa Park, I think, which we really, really can call it now. And I'm still holding out hope that Nassif Sawiris, Wes Eden's hedge fund group Fortress actually become the naming rights for Villa Park, so we can call it Fortress Villa Park. Just makes too much sense. Here we go.
Thank you.
Right. So you talk about being demanding, and obviously you're huge favourites for this game. So is part of the preparation just to try and guard against any sort of complacency, being as where Wolves are?
I am not feeling favourite. Really, I'm not feeling favourite playing in the Premier League each match, because I know we are thinking it's going to be something easier than we can prepare. We are not going to play in our 100%, and it's necessary to start winning the match, because even like that you can lose, and we can use different moments of them. But especially I want to remind when they were playing those players, Wolverhampton with different coach, against Tottenham away, they deserved to win, and they drove. They were winning 1-0, and the last minute they conceded 1 goal. And this match is for me the example how the difficulties is Premier League. And even now Wolves, they are in the bottom, but with the new coach, we are going to be motivated, excited. They are now with the necessity to get good competitive way, and they are going to try to do on Sunday. And of course, the coach, he knows us, and he's going to use his capacity, trying to get here points. But after this respect is how we are responding, how we want to set the objective in this match. And firstly, respecting them, and secondly, playing with our personality and with our good form. But to keep our good form, we have to be very demanding.
So a very pragmatic answer there. Talks about not feeling favourites in any Premier League game. To be honest with you, I think that's going to always be the message, I think, to players, specifically because Unai Emery is a man that remembers. And this sounds like a man that remembers Sheffield United 2 years ago, when we should have gone and beaten Sheffield United. It should have been routine, and Cameron Archer scored, and then we had to come back, and I think it was Zaniolo gets the equaliser, and that was the game whereby Villa should have beaten Sheffield United and been top at Christmas, and we didn't. And there's been a lot of games like that where we've been favourites on paper, overwhelming favourites, and gone and laid a duck egg. And Unai Emery remembers that, and he keeps the pressure on the players. This is, as he said, a small derby. References that game against Tottenham under a different manager. Talks about the new manager bounce and the new manager excitement they're going to have. And the Villa are going to need to be better again on Sunday, and to remain consistent. And look, it's hard to argue with anything there. I know people might say, yeah, right, we are favourites and Villa should win this game, but does the form book go out the window in a derby like this? I'm not quite so sure, but we'll see. Villa cannot be complacent. I don't think Villa can be complacent in any game, as we saw against Go Ahead Eagles, and we saw in the last definitely the last third of the game last night against 2 nights ago against Young Boys.
And how do you assess the overall strength of the Premier League this season compared to last season? Do you think it's actually even stronger now?
It's so strong, of course. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, this year, last year, this year, when I was as well in the Premier League in 2008 and 18. And my respect is massive for this match. And then how they are responding out of team is really being fantastic. Crystal Palace, Bournemouth. Now they are a lot of team, more or less. They are not content to be in the top 7, and they are fighting for this sixth position. And of course, some teams like Liverpool, like Newcastle, they are not getting the point usually they are getting, but they are going to be contender and fighting for top 7 position clearly.
Again, another pragmatic answer, media trend answer. Talks about Bournemouth, talks about Crystal Palace, which absolutely makes 100% sense. Talks about a lot of teams striving not just for top 7, but to go further as well. And obviously complements the strength of the Premier League, even dating back to his time in 2018.
Hi, Unai. Can we talk about your home form? Another win last night in Europe to continue your brilliant run in Europe, but also in the Premier League, you've turned the form around and you've been so strong at home again more recently. What is it that is making Villa Park such a fortress?
Firstly, because we are feeling strong with our supporter and we are feeling this is our fortress. They are transmitting us their energy, their support, and they are transmitting us as well good feelings to get together this form. And then is how the players they are responding as well and getting their challenges at home with our supporter, trying to get their best. Of course, to be consistent is playing at home and playing away, but more or less at home, like everything they are doing or feeling or getting feels more confident at home, we are doing the same. And our demands, our consistency, it depends how the players well they are getting these challenges match and how they are after playing yesterday, getting good result, playing well, how we are resting today, how we are preparing the game for Sunday, and how we are focusing the match strong like we are doing usually. But the consistency, it means how we are preparing, playing 3 days after we play yesterday, and how we are going to prepare and to be ready to playing out of matches during the week, like for example next week. This is the consistency I am speaking with the players, I am speaking here as well, and how we did the last year our process and how we want to do this year the process. Of course, our poor start, we forget it completely because now we are feeling like we were planning at the beginning of the season in our expectation, try to compete against the better team, not being contented to be in top 7, but competing like we are doing now. We can feel comfortable, we can feel strong, and then we can feel demanding as well to keep it strongly.
So I suppose again, look, there was a lot in the middle there that was very much press conference speak, but speaks about the Aston Villa fans. You know, he regularly compliments the Aston Villa fans and how they bring the energy to the players. And then I suppose he spoke there towards the end of about just the I suppose the differences in how playing midweek and then coming back to play again at the weekends are as well, and how they're learning that and how they haven't learned it and how they will continue to need to adjust to that. And he spoke about this coming week as well, and how playing with 3 games break or 3-day breaks is something that Aston Villa have to contend with as well, and that does feed into the home form that I think that Aston Villa will need to keep up towards the top of the table, as he said there, not just to strive for the top 7, but to strive really for the top of the table. If Villa are going to master that, obviously, staying on top of those 3-day turnarounds is going to be pivotal.
Feeling strong, you really have turned that form around. But is there even more to come? I mean, you said demand there. You are a demanding coach. What are you still working on and still feeling like you can improve?
Adding minutes for some players, they are playing less and performing in the same structure we have. Yesterday was very good example, and I got a lot of information about every players, how they are well understanding our other style. Of course, some players, they need more adaptation, but more or less getting the result we had yesterday and the process we are the last matches getting points. I think this is the way everybody has to try to understand and to get their demand as well through it. This is the standards we are trying to set high in our demands, and every players understanding, getting the adaptation, getting fit as well, so on. And then after some players they were injured, their comeback is being very good. is very important for us, like for example, Tielemans or Amadou Onana, and this is the way. And of course, we are trying to be consistent in our demands and consistent as well in every day how we are working and how we are preparing each game.
And that is the end of the press conference. It ended there on a question whereby he gave an answer to, I suppose, one of the big things there. He said that, you know, playing the players that he did in midweek gave him a lot of information with regards to the, you know, what he could use about players' adaptation into the team, but how players are beginning to understand the system and so on. And he spoke very much about that adaptation, whether it was players that have been out in the cold or players coming back from injury. And that was really what last night's game, to me, what I got from that was that's what last night's game was all about. Mission accomplished. He has more information on those guys who he can trust to throw in to games if they're needed, and who needs a small bit more time to get used to his way of playing. So listen, look, I suppose a very benign kind of press conference there, but one that you would expect on a 1 day turnaround from playing young boys of Byrne last night. But yeah, we look forward to Wolves coming up in the on Sunday. And if you haven't checked out our preview show that I did with Gary from Every Week We Follow as well, check that out, because we recorded that last night, and that is definitely one for you guys to check out. If you don't know about Gary, he is a great guy, and they've got a great little podcast called Every Week We Follow, so check them out as well. But in the meantime, everyone, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the
morning with Villa AM. It's Villa in the morning with Villa AM.